to the Common Geeking Program, a book club podcast where each week 3 of us read up on a topic, or watch up on a topic, or whatever, and then discuss it from geeky and nerdy perspectives. This week, I am your host, Jahnavi, and we will be discussing Courage the Cowardly Dog and anthropomorphism. I'm joined by 2 people this week, each of whom has selected a domain they think connects to our topic and theme. They are Laura and Pat.
Hello! I am Laura, and today I will be talking about Redwall, the first novel in Brian Jacques' many booked series.
You sure it's not Jacques? That's
Jacques.
definitely what I thought it was when I was a kid.
Pretty sure.
Hi, I'm Pat, and today I have brought the ever classic movie Space Jam.
Fun fact, I have never seen Space Jam.
What?
Yeah.
You have to before Space Jam 2 comes out.
We're going to pause the recording right now so Laura can go watch Space Jam before she gets some mad spoilers from Pat over here.
Come on, it's late, and welcome to the jam. I mean, you understand what the basic premise of it is, though, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah,
Basketball
fine,
Looney Tunes characters?
There's not really anything to spoil then.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Besides the fact that who wins the last game that they played.
That I do not know.
Oh, no.
But
okay.
If you are
Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to derail us there.
Anyway.
Let's press Y real quick, jump back on the rail.
Sure. Well, anyway, we're going to start by summarizing our topic and domains before we openly discuss. Finally, we will close with a competitive rating section to determine who best contributed and whether today's topic is enjoyable.
Come on, it's late.
Sure.
And welcome to the jam.
What is your favorite Slam Jam, Pat?
I don't know, man. All I know is that the one song, when his son is out in the backyard practicing his basketball, I think it's I Believe I Can Fly.
Okay.
It was the first time I'd ever heard that song, and I was obsessed with that shit.
Great song.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so let's summarize Courage the Cowardly Dog a little bit. So, Courage the Cowardly Dog is kind of one of those early 2000s, possibly late 90s cartoons.
Oh, I can tell you. Hold on.
From Cartoon Network.
Super classic.
And the general...
1999.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Only lasted 3 years? What the hell?
It's a travesty, but hey, they got a lot of good episodes in there.
They did.
So, anyway, Courage the Cowardly Dog, the general premise of each episode is that you have Courage, who is a
kidney bean shaped dog.
Yeah, he's pink, he's kidney bean shaped, he's very scared of things, pretty easily startled. And unfortunately for him, he seems to be in an area where there's like just a very high quantity, like a disproportionate amount of very strange and odd and like horrifying things going on
in the middle of nowhere
all the time in the middle of nowhere. And he lives with Eustace and Muriel, and he's very loyal to Muriel, so frequently there'll be some monster or whatever who will like get Muriel. He has to go save her. He'll say, "All the things I do for love," and grit his very unhealthy teeth and go ahead and do that.
But not only is he loyal to Muriel, Eustace straight up hates him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's this whole play between Eustace like getting in the way of Courage trying to save Muriel, and like sometimes, I guess we'll talk about it in one of these episodes, sometimes he has to go and save Eustace and he feels bad about it.
Yeah. Because I mean, for reasons that are not entirely explained, Muriel does have a lot of affection for Eustace. So, in any case,
have a strange relationship.
Yeah. I don't think that this is, in many ways, this is not a show about character development of the main characters.
Sure.
So anyway, that's kind of about the general gist of the summary. Can I ask one of you two guys to jump in and summarize one of the episodes we watched in particular? Yeah. Do you want to summarize the one about the mask?
Yeah, I can do that.
Go for it.
So one of the episodes that Jahnavi had us watch was The Mask. which is season 4, episode 7, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Where a stranger comes into the house in the middle of nowhere and is wearing this like big creepy mask. And she immediately starts by being like, dogs are bad. All dogs are bad. And Courage is like, what did I do? And she keeps on like hitting Courage over the head with random things and like beating him up. And Muriel's just like, oh, you guys are playing. That's cute. And so, the episode goes on, and then Courage sneaks into this guests with the mask's room when she's not wearing, or he peers in and sees her take off the mask, and she's a cat. And she keeps on talking about her best friend Bunny and how Bunny is being mistreated by her boyfriend, Mad Dog. And so Courage is like, something's going on here. And so he steals the cat has been holding like a little toy mouse that she keeps on, touching and playing with when she's talking about Bunny. And so he steals this little toy and goes off to try to find Bunny, and then gets stuck in a house, and like it's super like, I don't know if it's 80s really, but it's like gang culture.
A little bit of, yeah.
They use the word the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Like,
and like the car that they use is like kind of an 80s looking pimp car where it's like, I don't know. The whole thing is a little bit, it's like specific to a time period and a culture that I don't know quite that much about.
mm-hmm.
But you find out that Bunny is being mistreated by Mad Dog. No surprise there. And he's like, I'm going to beat you up. Why don't we just go back to the things that like it used to be, where it used to be so great? And she's all sad and stuff. And I don't remember exactly why. Oh, it's because Bunny like hooks Mad Dog's collar onto a light to try to escape. And then he's like, get her, boys. And so his whole like gang of evil looking dogs. They look like Dobermans, right? That's the right dog?
They just look like,
or
like a
Rottweilers,
dog
or I don't know.
type.
Yeah.
One of the ones that has a reputation for being scary.
Yeah, and like kind of pointy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they like stick her
Pointy
in a
boys.
planter, and then Courage comes in and tries to like save her, and so they both escape. And Mad Dog gets hit by a train, and I don't think he dies, but he like has the spinning.
He doesn't. He's like all loopy on the front.
Yeah.
Of it.
And then he brings Bunny back to the cat. And then they are reunited, and she's like, I was wrong. Not all dogs are bad. And then they drive off into the night.
Yeah, so that they can be best friends forever.
Best friends forever. But like for sure in a relationship.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I mean,
well, I'm sure at the time they couldn't actually like put that on TV, especially not in a kid's show. It was in 1999.
Yeah, but it was like very.
Well, actually, this one was like.
It did not seem
probably
like a friend
closer to-
relationship to me.
It didn't, but at the same time, like.
sure.
What you gonna do?
Anyway, Pat, you want to summarize the Tower of Dr. Zalost?
Okay, this one was like so strange to me. But,
I liked
okay,
it.
Tower
Alright.
of Dr. Zalost is Dr. Zalost comes into nowhere
Mm-hmm.
and is like, "Pay me this super absurd amount of money, or I will like
Make everyone
make
very
everybody
unhappy.
sad." Yeah, and then the mayor of this place is just like, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's fucking stupid." So then Dr. Zalost fires cannonballs of unhappiness at people.
He does.
And they all just lose the ability to do anything.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, he's like going off. I think he doesn't shoot them at the mayor or whatever, just so that the mayor can still give him his money. Mayor ends up giving him the money, but since the money doesn't make Dr. Zalost happy, he decides that he's going to make everybody still continue to be unhappy and not reverse the effects. But
As you do.
throughout this entire thing, Muriel and Eustace are on their farm. They're fine. Courage is fine. Muriel's pulling up like plums, I think.
Happy
happy
plums.
Eustace- Her happy plums. And Eustace is complaining about the fact that, oh, I don't have my morning paper. Nobody came to bring me my paper. So he drives into town, only to find that they never even printed the paper. And on the way back, he runs into Dr. Zalost's tower, I think, is parked in the middle of the road.
Because it's a movable tower.
Yeah.
It's got legs.
So he like starts honking at him and yelling at him, just like, what are you doing? Ends up following Eustace back to the farm, I think, right? And then he fires cannonballs at Eustace and Muriel, but the cannonball doesn't work on Eustace because he's immune to all, like, emotions or something. But Muriel becomes really sad, so Courage needs to reverse the effect. He ends up going into Dr. Zalost's castle with plums for some reason.
The happy plums to counteract.
They are the happy plums. But if they were the happy plums, why didn't he just give Muriel some happy plums?
I mean, that's a great plot hole, but we should keep going.
He doesn't. Yeah, that's my point. Is like for some reason he takes the plums with him rather than just using them on Muriel.
I mean, to be fair, he would have to make Dr. Zealous stop altogether, or he could just keep on shooting Muriel, and she wouldn't be around to make more plums.
True. So he goes into the castle, faces Dr. Zealous, ends up throwing the happy plums into the machine that's making the cannonballs, and it turns all the cannonballs into happy cannonballs, which turns the town back into being happy people, and doesn't work on Zalost yet, because I guess he doesn't get shot. So Courage goes back to the farm, followed by Dr. Zalost, who ends up eating some of the plums that are on the table, and then he turns into a happy dude, and everything's right in the world.
He had a little, like, rat friend that for some reason, when he got hit with the happy bomb, turned into a baby? That
it was like
me.
this big, giant, scary rat that was trying to kill Courage, and then got hit by the plums and turned into a little baby. And then they go back to the tower. He's, like, cuddling the baby the whole way.
There's also a strange part where, like, he's trying to get the rat to give him a hug, which always bothered me a little bit, of just like, oh, come on, give me a hug. It was like,
dude,
that gave me some creepier vibes than I thought it would the second time I watched it.
Yep. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. All right, so those two episodes were kind of two-parters. Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes are they're sort of split into two parts. Some of those two, like, of about 10 minutes each. Yeah. So both the Tower of Dr. Zalost and I believe The Mask were two-parters in that sense. The other, I guess, two episodes I had these guys watch were more traditional in that they were just kind of self-contained in their little 10-minute segments. So, I don't know. Who wants to explain the flan episode?
Oh, you want to take it. I don't really care.
Go for it.
So the flan episode, Muriel's watching TV one night, and an episode comes on, or a commercial comes on with this guy with, like, creepy Dracula voice and kind of spinny eyes, and he's like, "Eat the flan. Flan makes you happy." And so it turns out that he is brainwashing everybody to want to eat all of this flan, and so everybody, like, flocks to the store, and they're all obsessed with flan, and they're all, like, gaining weight and turning into, like, round cartoon people who only want to eat flan. And Courage doesn't get hypnotized, so he's immune to this, and of course he has to go save everybody. So he finds the flan factory by, like, stealing a delivery truck, I think. And he goes into the flan factory and finds this guy that's creating the commercials and brainwashing people, and actually gets a little brainwashed himself. And he's like, oh no. So he's trying to fight the flan mesmer, and at the same time try to save Muriel by, you know, getting rid of all of the extra brain stuff that is flanifying them. That made perfect sense. It's great.
Perfect. Absolutely.
And so I can't exactly remember how it happened, but he ended up like crashing the giant commercial that was playing on top of the person that had created the commercial, and so he got mesmerized by the flan, and then all he wanted to do was eat flan, and so he wasn't making more commercials. And so Courage went on TV and, like, did some weird, you know, spinning around and anti-flanning, and then brought everybody back out of the flan brain that they were in.
The flan brain.
That was it. Yeah, he went from flan brain to not flan brain, and then saved everybody.
Lovely. Thank you very much. What was another one? Pat, you want to go for Queen of the Black Puddle?
What? Wasn't there, like, a second part to?
Oh, there was, but was that one the volcano
one?
one?
An extra one that I shouldn't have watched.
I think it might have been the volcano one.
That was the volcano.
Yeah, it was the volcano.
You can explain the volcano one if you want.
I mean, volcano one was mainly just a lesson in why you should never ever get a timeshare.
True.
Like, they travel to this island with a volcano on it. The locals meet them, and take them up to the top of the volcano and start to do this like sacrificing ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't sacrifice Muriel and Eustace to the volcano gods, then the volcano will blow up and kill everybody on the island. So Courage has to try to save them.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of this, while they're escaping, he ends up finding like a salesman who's just like, "Oh, come in, let me talk to you about why you should buy some time on this island and shit."
Yeah, he was going to make it into a ski resort, and he had all the air conditioning on at the bottom of a volcano.
Which is just a very questionable business idea, but I mean,
it just,
all right.
Moral of the story, don't go to crazy, weird islands for business proposals.
Okay.
Also a reason that was fucking from The Incredibles. Same shit happened.
True.
Went to an island, got fucked over. Don't do it.
Just avoid islands.
I mean, go to islands on set schedules on your own terms instead of someone else trying to pitch something to you.
On an island.
Right.
Okay. All right. You know what? That valid choices. Okay. All right.
I can do the puddle one too if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Go for the puddle one, and then Laura can do the last one.
So puddle one was weird in the sense that like I couldn't understand how traversing through the water was working, but essentially there was this like queen who was materializing in water around Eustace to try to entice him, almost as if she was a mermaid. Eventually he ends up being like pulled into this like underwater realm by her to presumably she's gonna like murder him or something. But this ends up really upsetting Muriel because she doesn't know where he went, so she just starts crying. Meanwhile, Courage is trying to cheer her up because he's finally happy that Eustace is gone. But since Muriel won't stop crying, he's just like, "Ugh, fine, I'll go save him." Goes into the puddle, sees that the queen is turning into like a monster and is about to eat Eustace. So he ends up taking like a fishing pole and using that to grab Eustace and then start to escape. He traps the queen in a clam, I think. And then
she had like a clam bed.
Yeah, the way he got in was through the bathtub or like some puddle or something, and he saw that was closing up. But conveniently, Muriel's tears
have
are
formed
forming another
puddle.
puddle for them. So they escape through that, and Muriel stops crying. Everything all happens. But then at the end of the episode, Courage is in the bath, and a dog queen appears. So you're just like, oh my god, he didn't do it.
True.
That's crazy.
Nuts.
Hang on one second.
I don't know if I left anything out, but I feel like that was a pretty...
I feel like that was pretty comprehensive. Yes. These are only 10 minutes long each, so...
True.
Yeah.
Also, there is now apparently a train in the background, so I apologize.
Okay.
I usually have trains in the background, but currently have a Charles in the background.
Oh, hi, Charles.
Does it have a squished dog on the front and two, obviously in a relationship, other animals in the caboose?
I don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, who wants to summarize the last one?
Pat, do you want to describe it?
Yeah, you can just,
Sorry.
You can just go for it.
Alright, so... Shit. Director comes, says his name. I don't remember what it is.
It was Benton Tarantella.
Yes. Oh, wow. That just breezed right over my head as a Tarantino reference. But
it did for me when I was a child, but then
I was cooking breakfast at the time. I wasn't really like
that's fair enough.
That there.
That's quite all right.
Anyway, he comes up to the farm and he's just like, "Hey, I'm shooting this movie about zombies on a farm." The Eustace is just like, "I don't want you to shoot no movie." He's just like, "What if I give you all this money?" And then Eustace is like, "Oh yeah, cool, whatever." And then he's just like, "Oh, also I want you and Muriel to be part of it." So they go down in the basement because the movie is like zombies under the farm. And they start to like dig a hole and set everything up. Courage ends up looking up who Tarantella is, and he can't find anything about him being a director, but he finds something about before when he had a partner named, I don't remember.
I don't remember that either, but it's less important.
Yeah. So, okay, he has a partner, and they were like pretending to be film directors in order to sneak into people's houses, or not sneak, but like be invited in and murder them. So he found out that the partner had died, and the other guy had been let off for good behavior or some shit. And he puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that the zombies are real because he can see parts like falling off of the director, and he like keeps putting them back on real quick so that nobody notices. But Courage is a smart dog, and he sees that shit. So he goes down, reads the script, realizes that when the planets align over the farm, they're going to do this ritual, which will bring the partner back up.
Mm-hmm.
But Eustace doesn't understand what Courage is trying to tell him, and when he's trying to get him to stop, and puts him in a cage to like get out of the way. But then Courage rewrites the script so that it includes Eustace letting him out of the cage, and then includes the director and the newly raised zombie to get back in the hole, which he will then cover, thus negating the zombie ritual. And while the director is like, I didn't write that, it's not my work, the dude who had just come out of the ground is just like, bro, you really need to be better at this. Like, we had a solid plan and you screwed up the script. So it was just like freaking crazy.
All right.
And then I think that's it. Like, they just, they bury the zombies, they go on with their lives. It was good.
All right. I believe that was all of them.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember any other plots.
Yes.
So if there are more, we're shit out of luck.
Okay. Yeah. We I think this also took a little bit longer to summarize than I anticipated. So we can move on to the discussion part in a little bit, or the domain summaries, I guess.
Yeah.
Is Laura back yet?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Charles, I'm gonna do my part now. So just be quiet for a little bit.
Laura, please summarize your domain.
I would love to. So when we started talking about anthropomorphizing or anthropomorphized main characters, I could only think about Disney movies like The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not really what I wanted to do. So I spent a little time thinking about it more. And then I was thinking about doing Stuart Little. But he is actually technically a human that is just shaped and sized and acts a lot like a mouse, which I thought was weird. So instead I decided to go with the first novel in the Redwall series called Redwall, by Brian Jacques, which was originally published in 1986 and is in the first in the book in the series of 12 or 13, I think, at least. So it is a book about a young mouse named Matthias, who is young and lives in an abbey called Redwall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's run by a group of peaceful mice of the order that like to, heal everybody. They can travel all over the place without being harmed because everybody knows that they're there to heal and help and just make things better.
Mm-hmm.
But they were started by a very heroic mouse named Martin the Warrior. And a long time ago, Martin was many ages ago, so it's, he is no longer around, but they have tapestries of him and he was supposed to wield this really epic sword. And so everything's very calm and peaceful until Clooney the Scourge arrives.
Clooney the Scourge.
Clooney the Scourge. George Clooney the Scourge. Just kidding. I don't know.
Clearly the best choice to play.
Episode title.
Yeah.
And so Clooney is this really huge, evil sea mouse or sea rat who is got one eye and his tail is a whip and has a poison ball spike at the end of it. And so he's super evil. And he comes to try to take over the land. And he tries to take over the abbey at first, but they're actually able to defend themselves because even though they're not warriors, they will defend if needed. And Matthias, who loves Martin the Warrior and admires everything about him, actually turns out to be a pretty good statistician. He can do those numbers so good.
Oh, I mean, you win wars with math, let's be honest.
For sure, right? he's got good strategy and he's like a natural leader. And so he leads the defense of this of the Abbey, but then he's not comfortable with that because he thinks that Clooney's going to come back and hurt them. So he decides he has to find the sword of Martin the Warrior. And so to like basically just...
Did he try looking in a lake?
Probably, actually.
Probably try that.
I hear that lakes are good places to find swords. So he finds the shield, and I can't, oh gosh, what is it? The armor or something? Oh, the sword scabbard. So he finds the shield and the sword scabbard of Martin. It's all hidden within the Abbey, and there are clues to him. And there's a riddle on the wall that actually, it says, "I am that is," blah, 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 and there's like clues to where to find it, but it actually is a what is it called? Palindrome? That is the right word, right? For Matthias. It's actually how you spell his name. No, palindrome's not the right word. Anagram. Thank you.
Yeah.
Palindrome is, it's fine.
Same front and back, yeah. Go hang a salami on a lasagna hog.
So he finally gets to open... I didn't hear that, so I'm going to keep going. He finally gets to open where the sword was supposed to be, and it's actually not there, and they find out that it was stolen a long time ago by this giant snake called Asmodeus, and so he has to go and get the sword from the snake, and he's guided by Martin's spirit, and he's able to finally get the sword. So he has the sword and the scabbard and the shield of Martin the Warrior, and he's all good to go. While this is happening, I will say he's got Methuselah is a really old mouse that is his mentor, and there's Abbott, the abbot of the whole abbey. Abbot Mortimer is like guiding him and helping him, and Methuselah gets killed accidentally because he catches somebody trying to steal something and he's murdered, which is like terrible. And so there's like main characters that are dying left and right. Like Clooney runs over one of his guards with his cart at the beginning of the book and just like crushes him, and it like specifically goes into this dying rat just being like mangled and dead. So like reading this again,
this is like the rat version of Game of Thrones.
Kind of. Like it's surprisingly mature. Anyway, so Matthias ends up defeating Clooney by dropping the Abbey bell on him, which shatters the bell into two pieces. And Abbot Mortimer is killed, but before he dies, he names Matthias the warrior of Redwall, and then one of the other characters who was, John Churchmouse is his name, is the recorder, and then he names one of the other brothers, Brother Alf, as the new abbot. So he, in his dying breath, kind of sets up the next bit of history.
That's some good planning.
Yeah, really great.
Always thinking ahead, that abbot.
Yeah.
And then so Matthias ends up it ends where he marries the beautiful field mouse Cornflower, and they have a kid, and it's named after all of his favorite people. But so everybody is mice. They're like badgers, and voles, and all sorts of different animals.
Strong rodent representation.
Very strong rodent representation. There are some birds. There's a hedgehog, but all of the animals are. Well, all of the characters are animals, and basically everything they do is very human-like. Like they wear robes and flip-flops and all that stuff, and sandals, but they are all animals. And it's the only thing that they kind of like breaks the... It's funny because it's actually a fairly mature book. The only thing that kind of made it seem like it was really for kids is that they replaced they never said humankind, but they always said like mousekind. And that made it feel like
a little
more
cutesy.
Childish for some reason. Yeah, it was cutesy. So that is Redwall.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks very much.
No probs, bubs. I'm gonna go make sure that Charles is actually making himself lunch because I feel bad that I banished him upstairs. Except also,
all right, go for it.
I'll be back.
Pat, would you please summarize your topic?
All right. It's the year 1996.
Oh, shit.
Michael Jordan has stopped playing basketball.
Oh, no.
And has gone on
How could he?
to play baseball of all things. Well, this is actually pretty significant because Michael Jordan retires like twice in his career, and it's a strange...
It's a strange time.
Mystery as to why he did, but anyway.
He was too cool.
Through this, we have an issue with the Looney Tunes of all people, where there's there are like two worlds. So you got the Toon world, and then you got the real world. And then in the Toon world, there's this conflict going on between these aliens that own a theme park, and they need a new attraction. It's called Moron Mountain. So he has these like 3 minion aliens go to Earth to kidnap Bugs Bunny, and the rest of the Looney Tunes to be this attraction. So in order to kind of save himself and like provide them a chance to win their freedom, Bugs decides to challenge these aliens to a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And the aliens are just like, yeah, sure, whatever, we'll play basketball. So they go and they study all these basketball players to figure out like how to play the game, like what the game is. Meanwhile, the Looney Tunes are actually like training and doing cool stuff. But the aliens are just like, fuck it, we don't need to train, we're just going to steal the power out of all these people. So they take Larry Bird, they take Charles Barkley, 2 of like the biggest players of all time. But they don't take Michael Jordan because he is a baseball player right now. So that's the whole reason why Michael Jordan was spared, even though he was the best basketball player of all time. The Looney Tunes enlist Michael Jordan's help playing this basketball game. They end up winning their freedom. It's a good time. But the reason I chose this for the anthropomorphism side is because the Looney Tunes themselves are anthropomorphized characters. So they all look like and sound like they should be animals. Like you got Tasmanian Devil, you got Bugs Bunny, you got Lola Bunny, you got Tweety Bird. So they're all like animals, but they speak English. They walk on 2 feet. They play basketball. Like,
does Tweety Bird actually play basketball?
She is a cheerleader with the old lady who like owns her.
That's weird.
Granny. I think.
Yeah,
I think it's just Granny.
Makes sense.
But also, what's his name? Bill. Oh, what's his name? Bill Murray is in it as like the equipment manager, and he comes in and saves the game.
I forgot about that.
Which is so funny. But yeah, so the anthropomorphized part of it just comes from the fact that the Looney Tunes in general constantly have these animals doing things that humans would do. Like in the old times, they'd have Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck like trying to go at each other and like get Elmer to try to like hunt the other person and stuff. They have parts where they try to like romanticize Bugs and Lola, and specifically Lola, they like try to make her look attractive to what a human would assume a bunny being attractive would look like, because like I'm sure a bunny just wants to look at another bunny, but
that would not work for...
It would not work for Space Jam's purposes, because they need to make it clear to the viewer that Lola is a hot bunny. So
great. Super duper.
But yeah, the entire time they're just doing like people stuff by learning how to play basketball with Michael Jordan, and like Michael's trying to deal with his family situation at home because they keep stealing him into the Looney Tune world, and he's just like, well, I gotta go back and like make sure my kids are okay. So the Looney Tunes come back with him because they need to like get his, I think it's his shorts or maybe his shoes, I can't remember, but there's one thing that Michael Jordan needs in order to play. Because when they steal him, he's actually playing golf and he doesn't have all of his stuff. So they have to go back, sneak through the house, and then he ends up like, the Looney Tunes end up finding the kids, which turns into this whole fiasco of trying to like maintain their secrecy and stuff.
Makes sense.
But all in all, this movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Not only because of the fact that I enjoy sports, but at the same time, like, it's just so hilariously stupid that the Looney Tunes would be playing with Michael Jordan, and that Michael Jordan's career declined to the point where he's starring in this movie, which got a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Did it
but
really?
which everyone loved.
Yeah, I feel like it's everyone's favorite movie.
A lot of people who were my age when it came out, like I was only 4 years old when it came out, so like the 90s kids all love it because it's a kid's movie, but all the adults who were reviewing it were just like, Michael Jordan, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, this is stupid.
I think a similar thing happened with, I think, one of the Pokemon movies where all the critics who critically reviewed it were just like, yeah, this is dumb, I don't get it. But then everyone who like liked Pokemon was super into it, so it's kind of like that.
This is my biggest problem with reviewers, and it's also a problem I had with the Master of Disguise movie, is people were looking at it as though it was supposed to be like this amazing movie. Like they don't know how to put a lens on their critique. So obviously nobody was expecting Space Jam to win an Oscar, but like
they were expecting it to be fun
movie.
As heck, which it was.
Entertaining, yeah. But now they're making Space Jam 2, which is mostly why I wanted to talk about this, just because I'm super excited to see LeBron James in this.
Nice.
Oh, shit. All right.
Because that actually, like, kind of plays into the whole LeBron versus not LeBron versus Kobe. I guess Kobe can be in this, but it's LeBron versus Michael Jordan, who's the best basketball player ever. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's probably...
And then in another couple years, they'll put out a third one with, like, Kevin Durant. It'll be great.
I really fucking hope that. Kevin Durant is a good player, but like he just rides the coattails of other people's teams to get to be the best player.
Okay.
So he annoys me, but
you know what? That's a fair assessment.
Joel Embiid.
But let us take a little break and then we'll move into our discussion.
Cool.
All right. Cool. So, questions. Before we get into questions, just to make absolutely sure that everybody listening to this knows what we are talking about, anthropomorphism, roughly speaking, is when in a piece of media or telling a story, or even in just the way you talk about something, you attribute human characteristics to something that is not human. So that's sort of what all of these things that we've been talking about have had in common. Courage the Cowardly Dog is a dog, but behaves in kind of a human way in much of the case, but he's not all the way human in that he does still have some dog-like characteristics. And the same can be true of the Looney Tunes characters and the characters in Redwall. So first question I have, I guess, starting off for, suppose the both of you, is do you think that your chosen domains would work if you just had straight human characters for the purposes of the narrative?
Yes. I think so for Redwall, especially because they built the world so closely to a human world. Like they lived in an abbey, they had religion, they were like sailors and farmers. I think there would be a couple plot points that would need to be adjusted a little bit. Like they have the badgers or the moles like dig down to save people a couple of times. Mm-hmm. So like that would have to be like
maybe
probably
miners.
Not what happened. Yeah, like miners or like getting a drill or something like that. But Brian Jacques like really, really made it feel like a human world. Mm-hmm. Like there's these long descriptions about the food and the wine and the beer that they're drinking. Like it really does actually feel a lot like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
After you said that. So yes, it would totally work with humans.
So I guess my follow-up question for Laura before we get to Pat is then like what was the utility of making them rodents and rodentia?
What's interesting having reread it now. I mean, the last time I read Redwall was like, I was in like, I don't know, 4th grade or something. Like it was a really long time ago.
Yes.
It is incredibly mature. Like it's really brutal the way that they kill characters and the way that they injure them, and like the events that are occurring are incredibly mature. And I think that the only reason it's a kid's book is because it's animals. Like
it's kind of flew under the radar.
Even the language is very mature. Like I was reading it now and I had to look up a couple of words. Like it's really surprising that it's a kid's book, honestly. Like I was surprised reading it that I read it when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay.
And so I think that making it making it anthropomorphized and having the animals be the main characters allowed it to be a children's book.
All right. Can we hear from Pat?
We can. So, I don't think Space Jam would have been as successful if it had all human characters, because, like, nobody... I think the reason why it was so successful is because it appealed to children. And I don't think children would have liked it if it was not the Looney Tunes. And I think that it would have been a much more serious movie if we had alien, like Star Trek type aliens coming in saying, like, we're going to steal you basketball players to be...
I want to watch that movie so badly.
So we're going to steal, like, some fucking Klingons come in, take Patrick Ewing, like, Larry Bird and Larry Johnson and all them, and they take them to go play in this amusement park, and then it's up to Michael Jordan and a ragtag team of, like, street ballers to steal him back. I don't think that's going to help. Like, no. I think it needed the Looney Tunes and it needed the aliens, and there's no way you could have done that with real people and had this movie be as good as it was.
So then I suppose for the Looney Tunes in particular, do you think the Looney Tunes characters could have worked as humans or not so much?
I think not so much, because, like, some of the jokes that made Looney Tunes so famous are pretty specific to the animals that they were trying to portray. So it's as if they're making human characters more animal-like, because there's nothing about a lot of these characters that you would be like, oh, that's an animal. If you're just listening to them, you have to see that's a bunny. But then you have the not the stereotypical, the classic, yeah, what's up, Doc? Like, a human would never do that while eating on, like, a stereotypical carrot as a bunny. And you also have, like, some of the jokes where Elmer Fudd, I think, is hunting. It's rabbit season, it's duck season, or whatever. A lot of those skits and jokes are predicated on the fact that they are also animals as well as acting as humans. So I think without the animal aspect, Looney Tunes would never have been as successful as it was either. So I don't know. I think it makes it a lot more appealing to children to see these colorful animals and, like, funny voices and everything. And if you had, let's say, like, a show like The Wiggles or something, where if it was the Wiggles doing the Looney Tunes shit, I don't think it would have been good. The Wiggles are successful because they're good at singing and stuff and making stupid songs.
Right.
So, like, you need something that's mindless enough for kids, like, oh, hey, that's a cute animal, and then still humorous enough for adults with the humor behind the Looney Tunes.
Okay.
I don't know if that made any sense, but...
I mean, I'm just going to accept it as you said it.
Okay, that means it didn't make sense.
I mean, I think I sort of get the gist of what you're saying, but I'm not sure that I would say that the Looney Tunes as, like, a character set are just for children. I don't
think they're for children either. It's just, like, I think the fact that
it appeals to
to kids. Especially the fact that this movie was targeted towards children. The Looney Tunes are definitely the part of it that were for kids.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that the Looney Tunes are so old, they were around when our parents were kids, and thus they enjoyed sharing them with us. They're still appropriate for kids, which is where the animal side comes into me. I think that the animal, like, the fact that they are anthropomorphized characters is what appeals to kids, whereas the humor is more towards the adults and the people who understand the jokes.
Would you guys say that also applies to Courage the Cowardly Dog? As far as it is appropriate for a Cartoon Network because of all of these things and creatures that are anthropomorphized. Because when I think about it, I'm just like, if you replaced Courage the Cowardly Dog with, like, a child of some kind, I think it becomes a little bit of a different kind of show.
It becomes more like a Goosebumps type.
Yeah.
And those were pretty scary, in my opinion, as a kid. I wasn't necessarily scared by Courage as a child, but it was freaky a little bit. It creeped me out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I straight up could not watch the Goosebumps as a child. It gave me nightmares. So I think the fact that he is a dog and it's a cartoon and like everything doesn't look real definitely lends itself to being more approachable as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it would have freaked me out too much.
I agree. I just think that there's also something about the art style, like regardless of who the characters are or what they are shaped as, I think the art style and the way that they chose to create the show kind of is more what it gives the feeling for the kids and the adults. Like, I think that if they'd made it some weird baby, they could have still gotten the same result because of the way they chose to craft the visuals, if that makes sense. Like, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would change it, but I kind of think that it could be interchanged, and it would still work.
Because in various cartoons where you do have both people and animals acting in somewhat human ways, it would be interesting to kind of compare the reaction or the effect of when something happens to a human character as opposed to a non-human character.
Yeah.
But anyway. So I guess moving our focus back onto Courage the Cowardly Dog again is Courage himself is an anthropomorphized character, but throughout the series there are various other like villains or scary things that are also anthropomorphized, or if they're not anthropomorphized animals or something, then they tend to be like, monsters or things that kind of take some human elements and some like non-human elements, either visually or not, like the Queen of the Black Puddle. So how do you think that anthropomorphism and like monstrosity kind of go together for, I guess, your guys' individual domains? Like, do you see a link between those, or do you think that the idea of something being monstrous is somewhat separate?
I think purely in the Monstars, which is the name of the alien team in Space Jam, they are anthropomorphized in the sense that they're aliens that are roughly shaped like people. Like they have 2 legs, 2 arms, a head and a mouth, and they like speak English and everything. They're less like scary in the monster way and more like big and beefy in the monster way. Like they're just so monstrously strong that they like give them muscles and long hands and stuff to make them look like they're really good basketball players. And it's not the anthropomorphism is making them monstrous, it's that in order to convey the fact that they're good at basketball and that they are a threat, they had to be made to look very menacing. And I think that's the same in Courage, is you're supposed to perceive some of these things as a threat. And in order for that to happen, they have to kind of like make them look creepy and make them look not friendly, even if it's just like in the case of the mask, it's actually a cat in a mask that makes them look creepier. But
yeah, and that mask was super creepy.
And then fucking Eustace just keeps it as a welding mask or something.
Yeah, what the fuck was that about?
He just liked it, I guess. But
yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's not like the Looney Tunes characters themselves don't look like monstrous at all. They just look like cute animals that were anthropomorphized. But then the enemies of the Looney Tunes are where you start to get the monstrous side of it, because they're trying to make them less appealing than the main characters so that you sympathize with the Looney Tunes and not the Monstars.
Right.
Question.
Yes.
If this could definitely be cut. If you're looking at like an alien intelligent creature and you're giving it the same attributes as human, does that still count as anthropomorphizing? Because they're not technically human.
I mean, I guess like what attributes you're talking about. Like, I think a lot of the things that go into alien narratives is like, oh, how do you learn to be more human? But the thing with a lot of the alien stuff is that they're presupposed to have some kind of like at least human level sentience already.
Right.
Where while I think most people would agree that dogs are sentient, it's not at the same, like it's not perceived as being like an equal level of sentience.
Right.
So I think that might have something to do with that. I think that the way that aliens are used in various narratives tends to be a little bit different than anthropomorphizing something. But that's an interesting point, because a lot of, I guess, what I think is interesting about using anthropomorphism is how other do you want to make it, as opposed to telling a story about a person, or using a person to represent something. So it's kind of hitting a sweet spot between like, okay, how removed do you want to make this from somebody's like default idea of empathy or something, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just interesting because we also have 3 different levels of interaction between humans and the anthropomorphized I keep on saying anthropomorphized.
It's
anthropomorphized characters.
Yeah, your thighs will just start attributing like human aspects. Like you'll just get a little like face on there.
Horrifying.
Like just sentient limbs. It'll just anyway. A little bit of tangent there, but
I'm gonna blame it on the Invisalign.
Go for it.
But so in Redwall, there are no humans. They're all only animals, and they have no interaction. Like there's no conversation about the humans or the big creatures that live over the way. Like they just don't exist in that universe. And then in Courage the Cowardly Dog, something that I picked up on and was kind of looking for because we were talking about it. Courage clearly communicates with Eustace and Muriel, but it's often in a way that I think a dog would normally interact with its owners, in a way that they understand each other, but they're not speaking the same language. And then every once in a while, Courage would say something like the things I do for love, but it was never directly to a person. It was more like we were seeing his thoughts.
It was like breaking the fourth wall almost.
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting because it kind of like, yes, he's anthropomorphized, but he doesn't actually speak, really. Like he does in some ways, but it's more like he could have been talking dog and they just translated it for TV. And then you have Space Jam, which is fully integrated. These characters are speaking and playing and engaging with on the same exact level. So I think it's actually really interesting that we all brought things that are at those different levels.
Aren't there some scenes in Courage, though, where other animals are speaking to each other, but Courage can't talk to them?
I don't know. And also, if you think about it, the cat was talking to Eustace and Muriel, and they could understand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like some of the
couldn't.
animals are just like, they speak English, period.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's very strange.
Was there an instance where an animal spoke to a human and was understood in Courage?
Yeah, when the cat.
Oh, that's true. The cat with the mask.
Yeah.
But maybe she had to wear the mask because there's some unwritten code in the animal world of Courage that you can't be caught speaking to a human. And maybe that's why Courage can never speak to them. It's because he's still bound by that code.
Before Kitty took off the mask, did you believe that character was a human character?
I thought it was at least like not an animal.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was going to be like a ghost or some shit.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be ghost or
was pretty ethereal,
like a monster or
Do you think that like what I'm convinced that the mask had definitely some kind of symbolism because the episode was titled The Mask and it was definitely a big prominent thing.
Yeah.
So what do you think that may have been? Because I'm asking because I'm genuinely a little bit undecided in my own mind about what it could be. So
I mean, I almost want to have more experience with the whole universe of Courage before I answer that question. Because if Pat's right, and if there is something in the like canon of Courage the Cowardly Dog that animals can't really speak to humans, that would make so much more sense.
Right.
That it would be some sort of a conduit to be able to enter that world,
Yeah.
even though you weren't supposed to, because that's what it feels like.
Right. Yeah, I guess that kind of leads me into the last main question that I had, which was trying to find a good way to word this. Like, how well do you think you can take the perspective of a non-human character and show that well in a narrative without anthropomorphizing them to some extent?
I think that my favorite example is probably what Rugrats does, honestly. Because in Rugrats, while you're trying to get the perspective of Spike, they have the camera perspective shift to being as if you're behind Spike's eyes. Everything turns black and white. You can't understand anything. You just see what all the different people are doing. So, like, Stu will walk up to Spike and start talking to him, and you can tell that Stu's frustrated about something, but you can't understand exactly what's, like, happening or anything. But other than that, there's no real way without giving them some method of talking to us, which is implying that they would have the same kind of thinking as us, that they can form sentences in English and stuff. Like, you have movies like, what's that movie? Cats vs. Dogs, I think, where you have, like, a literal war between the two of them, which obviously war is not only a human concept, like, animals fight all the time.
You have turf wars between various primates, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we do is we attribute the kind of mad scientist stereotype towards the cat because we all think cats are super smart and dogs are super dumb. And then, like, the main, I guess, public opinion of cats is that they're also slightly evil. So we give the mad scientist kind of trope to the cat. We give the cat a voice to then, like, start spewing out all these plans and these traps for the dogs and stuff, and it just makes it really human. I can't think of a single time where there's an animal in a movie where I don't have some sort of anthropomorphism to tell their side of the story, besides Rugrats.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I don't know if we can really get the perspective well. I think that Pat's probably, like, that's the best one that I can think of, and I didn't even think of it. So, like, even if you look at, like, movies like, I don't know, Marley and Me, like, where the dog is, like, a main focus, you can't get its perspective. You can only see how it acts. And
right.
That's the same experience with their own animals. Like, you can only assume that you know what they like and what they're acting like. And even that, like, I for sure spent some time attributing human factors to, like, my guinea pigs. Like, oh, he must be cold or whatever. Then because I am, but that doesn't mean he is. He's probably fine.
Yeah.
As a result of that, do you think that the stories we tell, even with non-human characters, are necessarily always going to be human-centric?
I think until we understand how other creatures actually really think, yeah. I think everything that we do is through the lens of human eyes and human thought, and that's always going to make an effect on our stories and our media.
All right.
It's pretty hard to eliminate your own bias as a human writing a story about somebody else.
Yeah.
And then to have it be communicated to other also humans.
Without any sort of human element. Yeah, it's pretty hard.
Gotcha.
Can't wait till we meet sentient aliens. It's going to be so interesting.
if we ever meet them.
or if we wouldn't just, like, fight them immediately because they appear threatening.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's also a possibility.
It would be terrifying.
I saw a meme on Reddit today of if the Disney princesses were human or
male
men instead of women.
I saw that.
And it was like the Pocahontas scene where John Smith has his gun raised and then the mist clears and it's Pocahontas and he just shoots him in the face because he sees him as a threat.
Yeah. I laughed and I felt bad about laughing, but it was yeah.
Arguably a pragmatic decision.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that about wraps up our discussion. Do any of you guys have, like, lingering thoughts or comments you want to address?
I don't think we have any listener engagement, and I think I've talked a little bit too much, so.
All right. Well, then let us move on to ratings.
True.
Accurate.
Nice.
All right. Thank you both for your contributions to this discussion. We will begin by having each of you guys rate the topic on a scale of 1 to 5 masks, I guess, since
True.
I was thinking of Eustace's mask also.
Oh, the one at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He.
There are a lot of masks in that show.
I know, right? That's why I feel like it has to be more than just a mask.
I think inherently, like, they always start the episode off with hiding your identity in some way. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe that's the only way they could think to hide the cat's identity.
I guess. Anyway, Pat, why don't you go first? On a scale of 1 to 5 masks, what would you rate Courage the Cowardly Dog?
So, as a kid, I never really got into Courage. While I was watching these 4 episodes or so, 6 episodes, I could see why it was such a prominent show on Cartoon Network for a while, but it's still not exactly my cup of tea, just because there's no... Maybe I'm just not, like, I don't have enough experience with it, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of digging you can do into the show. There are some references, like with the Quentin Tarantino thing, but I'd probably give this, like, a 4.
Okay.
4 masks.
4 masks.
That was higher than I anticipated with that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a solid show
Lita.
for sure. Like, the production quality and everything is just not why... It's not my cup of tea, which is why I wouldn't give it a 5.
Okay. All right. Well, 4 masks will still hydrate your face pretty well, so...
That will.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Laura?
I watched a little bit of Courage growing up, but like certainly not a lot of it because I didn't really have TV, but it was something that I definitely saw some episodes of. So this is the first time that I've really watched it at all. And I'm kind of with Pat. I don't know if it's really my cup of tea. I like that it's out there and I enjoyed some of the scenarios that Courage was put in, but I almost felt like the 10 minutes were too short because it didn't really allow you, like you said at the beginning, it's not really about character development, and I almost wished that it was in some ways because it felt very like you're put into this situation and then it's gone so quickly that there's really no time to dig into it. So I actually think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 masks.
Okay.
I do think it's good, and I think that it's a well-made show, and it just felt like it went by too quickly for me.
All right. Well, thank you both for your ratings. Next, I'm going to award a Gold Star Student Award, giving a reward to the person who I think best kind of thought about anthropomorphism with, you know, the discussion and what topic they picked and everything. And I think for this episode, that was Laura. Good job, Laura.
Hooray!
Pat, you also did a wonderful job. I enjoyed discussion about Space Jam.
Yeah.
So, Neato, enjoy your golden mask. It'll make your face nice and shiny. Try not to frighten people with it.
Is it going to be like one of those...
supposed to cleanse your face, not make them shiny?
Well, they have the gold... Have you seen the... Shit, what is it called? The sheet masks that are all the rage that you put them on, they look super weird because they're like, have the eyes and the nose.
Yeah, like the Silence of the Lambs type shit.
Yeah, they have those in gold. So I'm assuming that the gold mask that I just won is a gold sheet mask that looks like that, and I will put it on. It'll be very shiny.
Yeah. Anyway, that about wraps it up. Thank you for listening to the Common Geeking Program. I am your host, Jahnavi, and you can find me at JKIR1 on Twitter. And I've been joined by you guys.
I have been having a hard time talking. I have been Laura.
Masks all in your mouth.
The masks. Yeah, I got all the like drippy juice from the sheet mask in there. That was gross. I just grossed myself out. You can hit me up on the Common Geeking Program Facebook page. I got that. I can check it and say hi.
Hey. I'm Pat, and you can hit me up at PattySOfficial on Instagram. But if you look like your account is fake, I will not accept your follow.
All right.
Smart.
Next week, our episode will be hosted by... Who's going next?
I believe it's me because we are recording in a week from today, so...
This is true. We already recorded mine.
All right. You want to give us a little chat about what's going on?
I would love to. So next week we're going to be talking about legacy board games, which are the board games that you can really only play once because the decisions and outcomes affect the next gameplay. And we'll be talking about Pandemic Legacy, specifically Season 1.
I have a problem with those games.
They're really hard.
They're hard, but they cost so goddamn much for me only being able to play them once.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll be sure to submit some questions for you.
Yeah, submit some questions, man.
All right. Well, be sure to tune in next Friday. I believe that will be October 19th.
Yep.
And follow us on Facebook or Twitter at Geeking Program. Any engagement, such as sharing a post, tagging us, or tweeting #CGP will enter you into a raffle where you get to pick the topic for a future episode. Reviewing us on Apple Podcasts is critical help to growing our show. Please do that, and we will read new reviews on the air. Anyway, thank you for listening, subscribing, sharing, being alive in the world, and
True.
we will talk to you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of the Common Geeking Program was hosted by Jahnavi Iyer, joined by the representatives Laura Kramer and Patrick Brem. This episode is sponsored by King Ramses' Curse.
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
The podcast is created and produced by Colin, Ketchen, and Jeff Leavitt, with this episode edited by me, Jocelyn Barkenhagen, and original music by Colin Ketchen. Next week, we'll be talking about legacy board games and Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Be sure to play up on that so you're ready. And thank you for listening to this.
Which was the last one?
The famous director.
Oh.
Man.
Yeah. I can. I just want to wait until Charles is upstairs, so
All right, go for it.
I'm sorry. Give me just a minute.
We can wait. Do.
I just don't want to have somebody like editing around ice going into a cup.
That's it's fair enough. Oh
Oh my god. He's making
Ah.
You almost done, babe?